Record scratch wait. Before you unwrap that chocolate bar, you need to hear this. That sweet treat in your hand might be hiding something dangerous. And I'm not talking about the calories. Asterisk close-up of chocolate wrapper asterisk. I spent months researching and testing dozens of popular chocolate brands, and what I found in some of them genuinely shocked me. Heavy metals, harmful additives, exploitative labor practices, and ingredients that have absolutely no business being in your food. Serious tone. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which chocolate brands to leave on the shelf forever. And I promise you, some of these names will surprise you. Some are brands you've trusted since childhood, some cost a fortune, and some are literally poisoning you with every bite. Let's get into it. Starting with number 10, we have Hershey's. Now I know this is an American classic, the chocolate bar that basically defined what chocolate tastes like for generations of Americans. But here's the problem that nobody wants to talk about. Independent testing conducted by multiple organizations, including Consumer Reports and As You Sow, has repeatedly found concerning levels of cadmium and lead in various Hershey's chocolate products. We're not talking about trace amounts that are technically unavoidable. We're talking about levels that exceed safety standards set by California's Proposition 65. Cadmium is a toxic heavy metal that accumulates in your kidneys over time and can cause kidney disease, bone softening, and has been classified as a human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. Lead affects nearly every organ system in your body, especially in children, where it can cause developmental delays, learning difficulties, behavioral problems, and decreased IQ. The Centers for Disease Control has stated that no level of lead exposure is considered safe for children. But it gets worse. Hershey's has been caught using child labor in their cocoa supply chains multiple times, despite repeated promises to clean up their act. Investigations by organizations like the International Labor Rights Forum have shown children as young as 5 working in dangerous conditions, using machetes, carrying heavy loads, and being exposed to harmful pesticides without protection. And here's something that'll really turn your stomach. Hershey's uses butyric acid in their chocolate manufacturing process, which is the same compound found in vomit and rancid butter. That's why their chocolate has that distinctive tangy, slightly sour taste that Europeans often find absolutely disgusting. They started using this process back in the early 1900s to preserve milk in the days when refrigeration wasn't reliable. And they've kept doing it because Americans have become accustomed to that flavor profile. You've literally been conditioned to think vomit-flavored chocolate is normal chocolate. Many people who try European chocolate for the first time are shocked by how different real chocolate actually tastes. Number 9 is Yes, the luxury brand with the fancy gold boxes that people give as impressive gifts. The brand with boutique stores in upscale shopping centers. You're paying premium prices, sometimes $20 to $30 for a small box, for chocolate that contains PGPR, which is polyglycerol. Now that's a mouthful, and it's in your chocolate because it's a cheap emulsifier made from castor oil that replaces real cocoa butter. Real chocolate makers use cocoa butter, which is expensive and gives chocolate that smooth, melting texture. Godiva uses this industrial substitute to cut costs while maintaining their luxury image and high price point. PGPR has been linked to digestive issues and liver enlargement in animal studies, and while it's approved for use by the FDA, many countries require warning labels on products containing it. Godiva also loads their products with artificial flavors instead of using real vanilla, real fruit, or other natural flavorings. They use soy lecithin that's been processed with hexane, a neurotoxic chemical also found in gasoline and used as a solvent. The European Food Safety Authority has raised concerns about hexane residues in food products and their potential neurological effects. For the price you're paying, you're getting a product that's more chemistry experiment than actual chocolate. The fancy packaging, the elegant stores, the sophisticated marketing, it's all designed to make you think you're eating something premium and luxurious, but you're actually consuming industrial ingredients dressed up with gold foil and ribbon. Independent taste tests conducted by food critics and chocolate experts have repeatedly shown that Godiva ranks below many cheaper brands in actual chocolate quality, cocoa content, and flavor complexity. You're paying for the name, the box, and the marketing, not the actual quality of the chocolate inside. Number 8. Nessa. This one shouldn't surprise anyone who's been paying attention to corporate behavior over the past few decades. Beyond their well-documented water rights controversies, where they've been accused of draining communities of their water sources and selling it back to them in bottles, and their persistent child labor issues that have resulted in multiple lawsuits and international condemnation. Nestle chocolate products consistently test positive for heavy metals at concerning levels. Their popular brands like Crunch, Butterfinger, Baby Ruth, and 100 Grand contain hydrogenated oils, which are trans fats that have been directly linked to heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and inflammation throughout the body. The FDA has actually moved to ban artificial trans fats because the scientific evidence of their harm is so overwhelming, yet they still appear in many Nestle products through regulatory loopholes and exceptions. They also use vanilla instead of real vanilla extract. Vanillin is synthesized from petroleum byproducts or wood pulp and costs a tiny fraction of real vanilla, but it lacks the complex flavor compounds, antioxidants, and potential health benefits of actual vanilla beans. Nestle products also contain artificial colors like red 40, yellow 5, and yellow 6, which have been linked to hyperactivity in children, allergic reactions, and possible carcinogenic effects in animal studies. These synthetic dyes are banned or require prominent warning labels in several European countries because the evidence of potential harm is strong enough that governments decided consumers need to be warned. Studies published in medical journals have shown these dyes can cause significant behavioral changes in sensitive children, increasing hyperactivity and decreasing attention span. The European Union requires products containing these dyes to carry a warning stating they may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Nestle continues to use them freely in American products because our regulations are much weaker and more influenced by corporate lobbying. Coming in at number 7 is Mars chocolate, which includes some of the most popular and recognizable candy bars in the world like Snickers, Milky Way, Twix, M&M's, and Three Musketeers. Recent consumer reports testing found concerning levels of lead and cadmium in multiple Mars products, with some bars exceeding safe daily consumption limits established by health organizations. What's particularly troubling is that Mars is a massive multinational company with extensive resources, annual revenues in the tens of billions, and sophisticated supply chain management, yet they apparently can't or won't implement adequate testing and sourcing controls to keep toxic heavy metals out of their products. They also use TBHQ, which is tertiary butane, a petroleum-derived preservative that extends shelf life but has been linked to vision disturbances, liver enlargement, convulsions, neurotoxic effects, and immune system issues in multiple peer-reviewed studies. The FDA allows it in small amounts, claiming it's generally recognized as safe, but it's banned in Japan and other countries that take food safety more seriously and use the precautionary principle. TBHQ is also used in biodiesel varnishes, lacquers, and as a stabilizer in perfumes and cosmetics. That's what you're putting in your body when you bite into a Snickers bar. Mars products are also loaded with high fructose corn syrup instead of real cane sugar, because corn syrup is cheaper and heavily subsidized by the US government through agricultural policies. High fructose corn syrup has been linked to obesity, fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, and metabolic syndrome at rates significantly higher than regular sugar, according to numerous studies. The dairy they use often comes from cows treated with recombinant bovine growth hormone, a synthetic hormone that increases milk production but has been banned in Canada, the European Union, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan due to animal welfare concerns and potential human health impacts. Number 6 is Russell Stover, the chocolate brand you find in every drugstore, grocery store checkout aisle, and discount retailer. This drugstore staple uses partially hydrogenated oils in many of their products, which, as we discussed, are artificial trans fats linked to serious cardiovascular disease. Testing has shown their chocolates contain significant amounts of cadmium and lead, and the levels vary wildly between batches and different product lines, suggesting extremely poor quality control and inconsistent sourcing. They also use cheap fillers like maltitol and other sugar alcohols that can cause severe digestive distress, painful bloating, gas, and explosive diarrhea in many people, especially when consumed in the quantities present in their sugar-free products. Their ingredient lists read like chemistry textbooks with artificial flavors, artificial colors, sodium benzoate, potassium sorbate, and various preservatives throughout. They use palm oil extensively, which not only contributes to massive deforestation in Indonesia and Malaysia, destroying critical orangutan habitats and contributing significantly to climate change, but is often processed using high-temperature methods that create harmful byproducts called glycidyl esters and 3-MC. which are considered potentially carcinogenic and the quality control is shockingly inconsistent for what's supposed to be a major national brand. You might get a box that's somewhat edible and another that tastes like scented candle wax mixed with chemicals. The cocoa content is minimal, usually around 10% or less, which means you're essentially eating sugar, hydrogenated oil, artificial flavoring. Number 5, and this might hurt because the packaging is so beautiful and elegant, is Ferrero. Those gorgeous gold-wrapped spheres in the clear plastic boxes that show up at every holiday party and are given as gifts. Underneath that fancy gold wrapper and the whole roasted hazelnut is a product containing palm oil as its primary fat source, not cocoa butter like real quality chocolate. Palm oil is high in saturated fat, but more concerning is that it's often contaminated with glycidyl fatty acid esters, which are carcinogenic compounds formed during the high temperature deodorization process required to refine palm oil and remove its naturally rancid smell. The European Food Safety Authority has identified these compounds as a significant health concern, especially for children and adolescents who consume large amounts of palm oil through processed foods and candy. Ferrero has been sued multiple times for misleading health claims, including marketing their products as part of a nutritious, balanced breakfast, when they're essentially chocolate candy balls with more sugar and calories per serving than most cookies and donuts. Their advertising shows wholesome families, includes images of milk and hazelnuts, and implies nutrition and wholesomeness, but each Ferrero Rocher contains more calories and sugar than a Krispy Kreme glazed donut. Their products also contain vanillin instead of real vanilla, artificial flavors to enhance the hazelnut taste, and soy lecithin processed with hexane. Ferrero has been repeatedly called out by human rights organizations for exploitative labor practices in their hazelnut farms in Turkey, where undercover investigations have found child labor, workers living in absolutely horrific conditions without running water or electricity, and wages below subsistence levels. Number 4 is Toblerone, that distinctive triangular Swiss chocolate bar with the mountain peaks that used to be a genuine symbol of Swiss quality and craftsmanship. After being acquired by Mondelez International in 1990 as part of the Kraft Foods purchase of various confectionery brands, the quality has absolutely plummeted, while the price has remained high. They now use significantly less genuine Swiss milk and much more palm oil and generic ingredients sourced from wherever is cheapest. Independent testing has found heavy metal contamination, including lead and cadmium in their products at levels that should genuinely concern anyone eating them regularly or giving them to children. They've also significantly reduced the cocoa content and changed the recipe multiple times to cut costs, while keeping the premium pricing. In 2016, they created an international scandal by increasing the spacing between the triangular peaks to reduce the total amount of chocolate in each bar by about 10% without reducing the price, essentially giving consumers less chocolate for the same money and hoping nobody would notice. Following massive consumer outrage and social media backlash, they reversed this change but instead just made the bars physically smaller overall. The iconic triangular chocolate that was once made entirely in Bern, Switzerland with premium Swiss ingredients is now made partially in Bratislava, Slovakia with inferior ingredients to maximize profit margins, despite still trading heavily on that Swiss reputation, showing the Matterhorn mountain on the packaging, and charging premium prices. Very little about modern Toblerone is actually genuinely Swiss anymore. At number 3 we have Cadbury, the beloved British chocolate institution that was founded in 1824 and became a cultural icon in the United Kingdom. Cadbury also belongs to Mondelez International, after a controversial and bitterly contested takeover in 2010. Immediately after the acquisition, despite promises to maintain production and quality, they changed the recipe to use cheaper ingredients, sparking massive outrage among British consumers who grew up with the original dairy milk formula and could immediately taste the difference. They replaced real cocoa butter with palm oil in some products, fundamentally changing the texture, mouthfeel and taste. This caused such enormous backlash, petitions, and boycott threats that they partially reversed the decision. But the damage to consumer trust was permanent. Cadbury chocolate has tested positive for concerning levels of lead and cadmium in multiple independent laboratory tests. They use artificial flavors, particularly in their cream egg products, which used to be made with genuine dairy milk chocolate but now use a cheaper standard cocoa mixed chocolate that longtime fans say tastes noticeably different and inferior. The dairy and American Cadbury products, which are actually made under license by Hershey, comes from factory farms with questionable animal welfare practices. The Cadbury you're eating today, especially if you're in America, is nothing remotely like the quality product it was 20 or 30 years ago. Longtime fans can taste the difference immediately, and many refuse to buy it anymore. Number 2 is Lindt, the premium Swiss brand with the smooth gold-wrapped Lindt or chocolate bowls and the fancy shops in upscale malls where everything is displayed like jewelry. Yes, the brand that charges luxury prices and markets itself as the absolute pinnacle of chocolate excellence and Swiss tradition. This one genuinely shocked me when I discovered the testing results. Recent comprehensive testing by Consumer Reports found that Lindt's Excellence dark chocolate 85% cocoa bar had some of the highest levels of lead and cadmium among all chocolate brands tested. We're talking about cadmium levels at 166% of California's maximum allowable dose level and lead at 127% of the maximum level for regular consumption. This isn't slightly over the limit. This is dramatically, dangerously over what's considered safe. Despite their premium positioning, luxury marketing, artisan image, and price point that's often 3 to 4 times higher than regular chocolate brands, they've been unable or unwilling to adequately explain why their heavy metal levels are so unconscionably high. They've faced multiple class action lawsuits over these findings and for making misleading claims about their chocolate being expertly crafted with the finest ingredients when independent testing shows it's significantly contaminated with toxic metals. While it's true that heavy metals like lead and cadmium are naturally present in soil and can be absorbed by cocoa plants, other premium chocolate brands have conclusively demonstrated that it's absolutely possible to source cocoa from regions with lower soil contamination and process it using methods that minimize heavy metal content to much safer levels. Lindt apparently chooses not to do this, or their sourcing and quality control are so inadequate that they can't prevent contamination. For a brand charging luxury prices, operating fancy boutiques, and building their entire reputation on Swiss precision, quality, and excellence, finding toxic heavy metals at levels that dramatically exceed safety standards is absolutely unacceptable and frankly inexcusable. And the number one most toxic chocolate brand to avoid at all cost is Parma. This is the ubiquitous brand you see absolutely everywhere around holidays, especially Easter and Christmas. Those chocolate bunnies, those chocolate centers, those hollow chocolate eggs and holiday shapes that are dirt cheap, sold by the pound, and stacked high in every store. Here's something most people don't know and the company doesn't advertise. Parma's chocolate isn't even legally allowed to be called chocolate in many countries because it contains so little actual real cocoa. In the European Union, their products couldn't be labeled or sold as chocolate because they don't meet the minimum cocoa content requirements established by law. It's primarily made from partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, sugar, artificial flavors, and brown coloring. When you bite into a Parma chocolate bunny, you're mostly eating hydrogenated vegetable oil that's been colored brown, sweetened, and flavored to vaguely resemble chocolate. Their products contain PGPR to make the oil-based mixture flow properly during manufacturing, artificial colors including dyes that are banned or heavily restricted in other countries, and vanillin instead of real vanilla extract. Independent testing has consistently shown contamination with heavy metals, and there's virtually no quality control because these products are manufactured as cheaply as humanly possible for maximum profit margin. The chocolate coating on their bunnies and Santa figures is basically flavored wax that happens to be brown. Food scientists and chocolate experts who have analyzed Parma products state they barely qualify as food, let alone chocolate. You're literally better off not eating chocolate at all than consuming Parma products, because at least if you eat nothing, you're not actively putting toxic metals, artificial chemicals, trans fats, and industrial oils into your body. So what should you do? First, look for brands that use certified organic cocoa. Organic certification means no synthetic pesticides or chemical fertilizers, which significantly reduces heavy metal accumulation in the plants. Look for complete transparency about sourcing. Good brands will tell you exactly where their cocoa comes from, which farms, which regions, and how they ensure quality. Demand third-party testing for heavy metals. Responsible brands voluntarily test their products and publish results. Brands like Who Chocolate, Alter Eco, Theo Chocolate, Endangered Species, Taza, Equal Exchange, and Divine are doing it right. Check for fair trade certification, which ensures farmers are paid fairly and child labor isn't used. Look for minimal ingredients. Real quality chocolate should contain cocoa mass, cocoa butter, sugar, and maybe vanilla and least. That's it. If the ingredient list is long and full of things you can't pronounce or recognize, put it back on the shelf. Choose companies that actually care about what goes into their products and are willing to invest in quality, ethical sourcing, and rigorous testing. Yes, good chocolate costs significantly more, but your health and the health of your family is absolutely worth it. If this video opened your eyes to what's really in your chocolate, hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm exposing more toxic products and ingredients every single week. Drop a comment telling me which brand shocked you the most and whether you'll stop buying it. Stay safe out there, read those labels carefully, and choose your chocolate wisely.